Hello everybody, Ken here again, and today I'm going to be bringing you what each race has to offer to the table in realms of drones and weaponry, as well as what they can do and what I guess they cannot as well. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So as you can see here, I have it all laid out for you. So each race has their specific characteristics and traits for their ships. So for the Amar, the drone is the Acolyte. Okay. Galante, the Hobgoblin. Caldari, the Hornet. And the Warrior is for the Minotaur race. A great tool that you can use to analyze everything is the comparison tool. This is raw data. Okay. These are raw data that you can find, and you just open it up here and see everything, and you can select exactly what you want to see. Some key points for drones is going to be your optimal range, velocity, rate of fire, damage multiplier. You can select these to show exactly what type of damage that they will be doing. Orbit velocity. Let's see what else we need. You can also tag there. Oh, can't select more than 10 at a time, so it's fine. This is a lot of data. So as you can see here, we'll just read it out. So optimal range, velocity, and as you can see, warriors are the fastest. As for the Minotaur race, Galante is the most damage. And then these ones a little fallen, a little behind here. Okay, in the realms of well, damage as well for the Minotaur. But you can really easily use this for what you're doing, okay? But you have to make sure to apply this to whatever you're doing. Simply just throwing out your Galante Hobgoblins. They're not as fast as warriors, so if you're against faster and light targets, often the warrior is the best one to choose, of course, because it already goes 4,200 meters a second. And you'll be good to go. Not as much damage, but for the light targets, they're going to be pretty squishy anyways, so no worries there. Looking for damage, it's best bet. Then for the Acolytes, let's see what they got here. Orbit's a little low. Optimal range is decent. Velocity here is basically in between the an average between a little below the warrior, so not too bad. It's a good middle ground here. Yeah, very good middle ground. Not sacrificing too much. As for, of course, for your Hornets, the most tanky, as you can see here from the shield EHP. But basically utilize this chart. You can utilize this with anything, right? Turrets, weapons, any module out there. You can really isolate whatever it is you're really looking for and compare them. This is all raw data, okay? Your skills are not applied. This is just the item itself, what it can do at its raw state. And of course, when you throw it on your ships, you'll see that change in your simulation window. But a very useful tool here. Now we're going to go more in depth on our races here. Let's start off with the weaponry. Okay, so for the Galante, the hybrid weapon system is the weapon of choice for the Galante, as well as drones, right? They have a lot of drone boats here, like the Vexor, which is a cruiser class vessel. What makes them great, right? Their drone capacity as well as their bandwidth are naturally higher than all the other races. Just keep that in mind if you like drones. Go the Galante route. For their weaponry, you have the blasters. They are the highest DPS weaponry in the game. As when you go towards the end game, you won't feel it so much as the smaller weaponry, but when you go later down the line and get the T2 versions of them, they dish out the most DPS, damage per second, that is. And as for the railguns are long range. Their raw damage is lacking, right? And the turret tracking is quite lacking as well, but the range on the railguns, of course, you won't see them again. like in everything else. You won't see effects in the lower end of the weaponry, but once you get to the big guns T2, they can go over 200k out there. They can reach out real far. Okay, and their capacity consumption is relatively average. And the Amar race, the Amar specializes in beams and pulse. Pulse is going to be your quote-unquote TPS, close up and personal. Get in there. They have the beams. The range is not too bad. But for the Amar race, they use a different type of ammunition, that being frequency crystals. And here they are. So crystals react like your mining crystals. They will degrade themselves over time. So just buying a whole set for your current fit is going to last you quite a while. Of course, just hover over the damage of it and keep an eye on that before you need to buy some more crystals. So having just 2 sets will set you right. Having one in the guns and a spare. And then the ammunition of choice, only multi-frequency, covers that's the most DPS for this weapon system here. And of course, I didn't cover it, but for the Galente, it's going to be your antimatter charges. And again, the Amar race, the beams and pulse, they do take a lot of capacitor power to fire them. Keep that in mind. Mimitar race, this is your more so primitive weaponry. Yeah, of course, you can click there and you can see what they look like. Very nice feature here, especially if you're going to be doing some PvP. It'll be good to easily identify what you're going to be up against out there, okay? See what type of weaponry they have, look at their ship, and you can easily tell what they're running. So if you are going down the PvP path, take that word of advice and try to really look at what kind of weaponry is out there and what they would look like on a ship. Alrighty, getting back to it, Mimitar, they use projectile like regular ammunition rounds that we use today in our weaponry. My personal is going to be your phase plasma. As you can see, the 10-2. Another one, and of course with these guys you can tailor it a little more better. They do have some EM rounds here, give you more shield damage, a little bit of kinetic, and a little bit of explosive damage. Should look at the wide variety of range, wide variety of damage that these different ammunitions can do to best fit your encounters out there. For the Mimitar race, the autocannons is going to be your DPS, and your artillery cannons is going to be your long range. Now for the artillery cannons, they have the most alpha in the game, that being the most damage done in a single volley. Their DPS is relatively low because their rate of fire is highly impacted here. So we'll check this out real quick. Rate of fire 8.5 seconds and 2.7. Oh, excuse me. It's going to be 3.0. So as you can see, it's pretty much double, a little more, but quite a change. But like I said, these ones are long range, and if you connect, it'll wreck them pretty good. And special for the Mimitar race, they have no capacitor consumption whatsoever when firing their weaponry. So even if you have no cap, you can still fire off some rounds. And the next specialty is going to be the Caldari rockets and missile platform. Missiles and rockets never miss, as long as you're within range, as well as the velocity of the round can keep up. So we'll take a look at the Inferno rocket. The velocity is 2250 meters a second. Now, what that really translates to, if a target is going above this velocity here, if they're going faster than that, your rocket will basically trail behind them and will explode or dissipate before it impacts the target. Thus, no damage. But as long as they're within range and under the velocity here, and of course the flight time, they're under the flight time there, good to go. It'll be a sure hit. And there's many different platforms here. We'll open the regional market for you to see. But all this other stuff's up. Missile launchers, a very wide variety here. Rockets being your small ones and going all the way up to the torpedoes, thus being the largest round. Now, just like even the other weapon platforms, the rockets really feel this very heavily. And what I mean by that is, the bigger the gun, the less tracking you'll have. For missiles and rockets, it's a little different. So of course, we talked about those parameters that you need to be in for the missiles here, but of course you have to deal with the signature radius, that being the literal size of your target, and if anything blooms the target, like modules on board or using a micro warp drive. If they're using a micro warp drive, it will bloom their signature radius, thus making them a quote-unquote bigger target. Now, if you use a big type of torpedo on a small target, the effects will be very minimal. Even though it's a big round, shooting at a small target will do very small amount of damage if their signature radius is not basically around or above I guess what the rocket or munition you're using is really designed for. So best off with rockets and missiles, try to stick alongside with whatever you're fighting, because with this platform you're really locked in to how much damage you can do. Very locked in. So use small projectiles for small targets, big projectiles for bigger targets. That's the easiest way to go about doing it. Especially same thing for the drones, right? Use a small drones for small targets, big drones for bigger targets, because their tracking is not really going to be all that great trying to hit whatever it is you're trying to kill out there. Next, we're going to go into the Untitled, the Stormbringer. Untitled is they have a very interesting weapon system, which is going to be the projector. So what this little thing does, it dishes out basically a lightning strike, so to speak, against it can arc 5 times as long as they're within range of each other. As you can see, the stats here. So as long as they're close enough together, it will continuously arc along those targets. Great asset for PvE. However, the damage for these are not quite there. So for the S, I personally don't use it. I'm just mostly a PvP guy, but I've tried it out in PvE, and it is amazing. However, the cost behind the Untitled ships, the ammunitions, and the weapon system, it's very costly. So I would not suggest for a new player, but once you get up there, you get the ISK, and you want to burn it, go for it. It's great. Now we're going to go into Triglavian, the precursor. They have the FedMac. Of course, there's the other variants, such as the Stormbringer, other variants as well. And you can check that out for yourself in the ship tree. But these use the disintegrator. And I didn't bring this up for the Untitled, but they can only have one turret. And like the Triglavian, they have one turret as well. However, this one is a little less optimized for PvE, but more so, I guess you could say PvP. PvE maybe, but the viability isn't as strong, just because this weapon system is more tailored to taking down very tanky targets. Now, as you look it up here, it cycles. Every time you cycle and you're locked onto that target, you increase by 5% up to a maximum of 150%. And the rate of fire is 3.5, so every 3.5 seconds, you'll keep ramping up that damage. It's great. However, if you lose the lock, let's say if you get jammed, or if that target is destroyed, you need to restart that whole ramp up, okay? That's why it's not very optimal for PvE, especially if you're continuously taking down targets, and the munitions for them aren't exactly cheap. And again, keep that in mind. It's more of an end game type weapon system. But again, it is great. Okay. But yes, a maximum of 150 as long as you're locking onto big targets first. Let your drones deal with the lighter targets. You should be just fine out there. This is a great asset, especially during sieges, because you only have one target, that being the structure. And you're going to be there for a while on that one target, so you'll definitely reach that 150 and stay at 150 for a while. But unlike PvE, you will continuously switch targets, thus burning your ammunition as well as restarting that ramp time. It's not optimal, but it can still be done if you want it to be that. After all, EVE is a sandbox. Next, we're going to go into the electronic warfare side of things for the races. Electronic warfare, of course, they're more the support type modules. So for the Glente, it's going to be your sensor dampeners. Of course, you'll see this sign. This sign will be in red on your HUD, either up here or below. It'll be this sign, but it'll be red. Now, what the dampener does, it reduces your locking range. So targets that are far out there, hitting you from range, they're going to be slamming you while you're damped, and you can do nothing about it besides just try to get in close while you're damped. And until you take out that target that is damping you, you'll stay that way. It'll continuously hit you, and you just got to take them out. Next is going to be the target painters. We're talking about that bloom. This is how you pretty much get it. Basically, target paint that target and gives them an electronic tag, thus making it easier to target and hit. Target painter will modify it, as you can see here, by 25%, which is great. So it's perfect for rockets and missiles, but of course, that benefit will still be great for your other weapon systems, okay? Not just for the missiles and rockets. Great for the other ones too. But if you have a missile fit or rocket fit, the target painter should be a module that is on that type of ship. Then we're going to go into ECM. So ECM is a unique one. So ECMs is your jamming. Now each ship has its own style. Okay, and you can tell that by simply this a Galente vessel. As you can see down here, 16 points of magnetometric. You got 16 points. As you can see here, we have the magnet exact jammer here. I'll show info on that one. And as you can see for that one module, the magnet is higher than the rest. Okay, and of course, there is your multi-spectrum. However, it is not as high as the dedicated one for Magnum. This one hits all of them across the board. Doesn't specialize in one. Instead, it's the jack of all trades of them all. Okay. So pick your poison here. If you really know your target you're going to be jamming, definitely pick the dedicated jammers. It's the easiest way. But if you know your target, definitely build against them. That way you definitely will come out on top. The odds will be in your favor at that point in time. However, now there's a calculation that is in play. So the 16 points, and then you would divide that by your jamming strength, and that's your chance. Divide those two numbers. Whatever you get is your chance to jam. And of course, having multiple of these modules on your ship will increase that chance, or increase the rolls. Not the chance, but the rolls. So if you have 3 of these modules, that's 3 chances that you get at that same roll. And of course, while you're using these modules, if you have more than one, you need to space them out. That way they don't overlap. So as you can see, it's a 20-second duration. I suggest 5 to 6 seconds of spread between activating each of the modules. That way they can overlap or pick up after the other to keep that successful jam. While using ECM and you jam that target, the target that you jammed can only target you. Okay, keep that one in mind. And there is ECM drones. Now the drones will totally jam the target, and they cannot even target the drones. They're great to have. So if you're in a PvP ship and you have some drone bay space left, definitely put some drones in there. Even the lights, you just need 25 space for them, of course, 5 bandwidth per, and you'll be good to go. And the jam chance on them is quite well, even though they're low. I'll show you. Let's our drones out. There we are. Of course, these are under the electronic warfare drones. These are going to be the Hornets EC300. They do have a low jam strength of 1. However, and most times when somebody has used this against me, 9 out of 10 times, it is a successful jam on their first attempt. I don't know how. But it is seeming to be always in their favor to get that first successful jam and for them to get away. But when I use them, they never jam on the first try. I don't know what it is, but it might just be my luck. But these are great to have. Very great. Let's see, and then last is going to be the MR race. It's going to be the neutralizer and the Nosferatu. Now, the neutralizer is exactly what it seems. Where is it located at? To be engineering. Yep. So these neutralizers, of course, we'll check them out here. Check out a medium. Activation cost is 150 gigajoules, and the neutralized amount is 150. So you'll have to take away your own capacitor to neutralize theirs. Okay, simple as that. Of course, be within range. And then every 12 seconds that happens. So really watch your capacitor as you're draining that target so you don't cap yourself out trying to cap them out. Okay, very simple module, and it is a high slot, as you can see here. So if you have some free space or are using a neutralizer fit with the MR race, definitely put them on there. Now the NOS, the Nosferatu, is a little different. So as you can see, there is no activation cost. However, the energy transfer is 30 points every 5 seconds for the medium anyways. So the NOS works if your capacitor is lower than your opponent's capacitor, you will basically leech off of their cap. Now if yours is higher than theirs, you will not receive anything. So of course, while you're fighting, you will have the readout that states what your NOS is pulling out of your enemy. And if it is at 0, that means you're winning the cap war. You have higher cap than he does. So that should give you a standpoint in the fight, rather. So just keep that in mind, of course. Watch your readouts so you know what's going on. I know there might be a lot happening at that time, but just knowing that information is crucial. Okay? Keeping that awareness level out there on the grid. You gotta have all the info that you can get so you can try to come out on top and know where you stand in the fight. But that's been your drones, your racial equipment, and style, as well as some electronic warfare tips, as well as the comparison tool. Please make sure you utilize this tool. It is great. Hope I already had them on there, but it's a great tool. Really. Oh, one very last tip I forgot to give you guys in the beginning. But this one is very crucial, especially for the new players. Of course, the vets know this one by heart, or the middle level. So Tech 1, you can see all these other options here for this one module. So this is your base raw item, okay? When you look at this, the best module is always at the bottom of the T1 section. Always at the bottom. So when you're fitting a ship, show info on that item and select the bottom option. Okay, this gives you the best resources for that ship. So the cost for your CPU and power grid, as well as the damage or yield that you would get. But it's the best option. It may be a little costly, right? Because it's the best within the T1 and everybody's looking for the best equipment out there. So it is going to come at a cost, but it is well worth it if it is priced up. But that's your easy tell. The lower you go on this T1, the better the item is. And of course, as you go down, you'll find the T1 or T2, the storyline and the faction modules, of course. And Dead Space and Officer are the best ones. They aren't on here, but they are the best ones the further you go down. But really do keep that in mind for everything, okay? That way you can pick the best equipment for your ship. And of course, yes, you can select any of the other mid-tiers, but you may not get the best effects that you would like precisely in your resources on your ship, because they're going to hit a lot harder for your resources, that being your capacitor and power grid. And if you upgrade to the T2 versions, if you have T2 versions on your ship, downgrade your utility modules such as your MWD or Afterburner to a high metal level T1. That'll still get you some decent effects that you need, as well as reducing your resources on your ship. But as for your defenses and offensive capabilities, try your best to keep them at their T2 equivalent, because that's really what you need out there, right? Defense and offense. Utility can come dead last. So just keep those things in mind and make sure you apply this while you're out and about, fitting your ships and gaining all that knowledge. And please, please share this info. I'll catch you guys later.